Hello, everybody, and welcome to our podcast and the video series around equality, diversity, inclusion in Northeast. Which, obviously, just to give you a little bit of introduction, my name is Fareeha, and I'm going to be hosting this 6 month series, which is going to be released every month. And you can view it on the YouTube channel for Dynamo Northeast, or you can also listen to it via podcast, which is going to be published onto the Dynamo website. So I welcome everyone who is here. We are going to talk about equality, diversity, inclusion, which is quite a very hot topic around in the United Kingdom at the moment, especially in the Northeast. With the Dynamo, what we're trying to achieve is we're trying to make sure that equality, diversity, inclusion is being taken seriously, and we try our best to make changes, to bring diversity, to make sure that everybody is included. This is the first episode of our series, ATI, and I would like to just give you a little bit of introduction of what we are going to do. In each series, we are going in each episode. I'm sorry, in each episode, there's going to be a guest that we are going to invite to talk about different topics, different episodes. So obviously, today the episode is how do we tackle exclusion in the tech sector of Northeast? And to talk about it, today we have a very lovely person in our studio who is going to be talking through to us, and we are going to be discussing a few things which we can do and just something food for thought as well. Let me introduce you to Emma Whitenstall, who is the engagement cluster manager at Dynamo Northeast. She is a highly talented individual who is very much supportive of bringing equality, diversity, and inclusion in the Northeast. So let's just welcome Emma. Hello, Emma.
Hello, Fareeha. How are you?
I'm all right. Thank you
Lovely
so much.
intro.
And now you really are, and you are a very supportive person. So why not we thought that for the first episode we invite somebody who do not only support equality, diversity, inclusion, but also champion it by her thoughts, by the way she is. So thank you so much for coming to our
Thank
show.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. So, obviously, as you are aware, we are talking about equality, diversity, inclusion. Dynamo has taken a very different, unique to equality, diversity, inclusion to bring in the Northeast tech sector. And I must say that they are actually looking at from a human aspect as well, because it's not something that we can achieve in one day. There's a lot of work that needs to happen. So, obviously, to continue with that, why don't you just let us know or talk about your thought before we start with the questions? How do you feel about equality, diversity, inclusion in your way?
Yeah, so I mean, for just to say it to start off with, I'm in no means an expert on any of this. I'm more of, as you say, a champion and an enthusiast, I think. So my interest, I guess, and my passion for equality, diversity, inclusion actually started in the role I had previously to Dynamo, where we really tried to look at that. It was also within the tech sector in the Northeast. It was another support organisation, and we really tried to kind of champion equality and diversity through a series of events of women in tech. We started a diversity charter within that organisation as well to really encourage the businesses across the Northeast to start looking at that more in depth. And as I say, that's where the kind of passion started, and it's transferred obviously through to Dynamo as well, where it's not just me, it's the whole team who are really passionate about embedding the learning and the culture of tackling this kind of thing within the tech sector across the Northeast, not just within our organisation or our membership, but the wider sector.
Great. So, obviously, you are aware that globally women are underrepresented in the tech sector and workforce, and especially if you're a woman of color, that is even fewer than that. And if you look at the Northeast, there is not as many women of color representing the tech sector, because that's what Dynamo is really focused about. Though this is situation with everywhere, but we are only going to talk about Northeast and the tech sector. So why is it that you think that technology is so cutting edge at the moment in the world? We are going into a digital world, to be honest, after the coronavirus crisis and during that as well, but it still holds back to who is in control, what to, so to address the issue today, obviously we've invited you, and we believe that you can shed light from a human perspective, but also from the work you do, as you've said and as you've mentioned to us. So we would like to ask you that what does fairness and success really means when we know that everyone is so different?
Well, I think the last part of that question is the most important part, which is recognizing that everybody is so different. So, kind of, in order to achieve that fairness, we need to enable those who are underrepresented, whether that's due to gender or color, or even social economic status, education. Ensuring that they're being given access to the same opportunities as everybody else. And through that, we need to accept that some people need more support than others to be able to do that. And that's something, that we need to start looking at as Dynamo, and more widely. It's all about learning about those different types of people, ensuring that that we're looking at those specific needs, because everybody does have different specific needs in order to access the things that they want to do, and that they feel included and that they're being given the same chance. So I think, to answer the second bit of your question, if that's something that we can achieve, then that's success.
That's great. Thank you so much. And I think, yes, you've really made a point there when everybody was given equal chance. And that's going to my next question. What are the main factors that you think that contribute to the lack of diversity in the tech industry, and especially in the Northeast?
So we probably all know that it starts at an education level. There's still, much more engagement within STEM subjects with boys rather than girls. We all recognise that, and that's something that we know that education and the school system is working on. But then, so moving on from that, you look at even things like TV shows like Silicon Valley, for example, and the representation there is your kind of stereotypical, your graduate educated young males kind of running these tech businesses, which is probably a really accurate reflection of those types of businesses in Silicon Valley and kind of those things, those kind of places. Here in the Northeast, is the diversity of our workforce any better? Well, just looking around, it doesn't seem that way. But that's what Dynamo wants to try and find out and try and influence. We can see there's more men than women when we look around us. We can see that the roles are predominantly filled by white faces, but we don't actually know the statistics behind it at the moment. And that's one thing that we're really keen to look into. But, on the flip side of that, we also know that there's exceptions, and there are businesses out there that are doing great things to champion diversity. So we want to be encouraging them to to share their knowledge, their experience, and to support, others to try and foster that same kind of environment, because that's what it all comes down to, making sure that the workplace that you have feels inclusive and everybody feels like they can be part of it.
Yes, that's great. And I think that's where I would like to tell everybody that Dynamo is, again, taking a very unique approach to bring diversity, inclusion, and equality in the Northeast, because their motto is we are going to embrace it, dignify it, and inspire it from it. Because, as Emma said, there's already businesses working to champion inclusivity, but sometimes the underrepresentation, and we sometimes do not give them enough recognition, and that's why we are here. We are going to do that. So just going back to, just shedding some light, obviously you mentioned Silicon Valley, and that's the same, that information and technology is not like films or magazines where you have to show the face of the person, but we still do not understand that why somewhere at some points there is still exclusion persisting in the field. Even the films have media right now, if you look at that, they've been more inclusive. The media has taken a very unique approach by bringing in some extent to bring in stories from all around the world. So they're not only focusing, if you look at even the CBBs as well, they've tried to make sure that there is, representation, there's enough awareness around Black lives, around people representing from diverse communities, and they've started to portray the lives of people of color, and they're also taking some approaches of how we can stood up against, it's what I believe is that it's not like a machine would really care if an Asian is coding it, or if Emma is coding, or if myself is coding it. It's us, who make that basis. So obviously, going on to that next question, why do you think that at workplaces still people feel discriminated, not because of their work or knowledge, but because of their gender, race, color, or sexuality?
I mean, it's so hard, isn't it? Because so many of these kind of discriminations are so deep rooted, and the history behind it, it's been going on for however many hundreds of years, and it's so sensitive as well, and it can't change overnight, as we've talked about in the past. But what can we do to support those people? Well, I think, by kind of sharing those lived experiences, and even those experiences, stories of discrimination with others, people can start to understand a little bit more and kind of put themselves into their shoes of why their colleagues might feel the way that they feel. I wouldn't know what it's like to be discriminated against because of the color of my skin, for example, but I can empathize with that if you tell me about it. I think
Yeah,
just
true.
educating ourselves is the first point of standing, I think, with this kind of thing, and just putting yourself in those shoes, speaking to those kind of people, and seeing where you can support, asking them how
Yes.
you support them, rather than just assuming that if you do this, it will make them feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
So
And
if
it's
that
more
answers the
like,
question.
yeah, and it's, I think, more like you, I think our approach should be that we should work for the people, not to the
Mhm.
people. Because
Yeah.
sometimes we decide and take decisions to do things which for a lot of people might not be relevant and they might not be interested. So it's always, I think, and I'm quite happy to see that a lot of organizations, a lot of investment organizations as well, a lot of businesses in Northeast are now trying to do focus groups, surveys before they start any project or launch a project, just to make
Uh-huh.
sure that is it suitable to everybody or is it just like them. So I think that is changing, and thankfully, after movements like Pride, Me Too, Black Lives Matter, the world has also become a little more accepting towards people and the traumas
Yes.
they have faced. They're trying to understand, and as you've mentioned, it's all about communication. It's all
Yes,
about
exactly.
talking to each other at a human level.
Hmm.
So that is it. So obviously, coming back to this, that how do you think now, because we've spoken a lot about, yes, this is happening and there's a history, but how do you think we can bring change in not the Northeast sector to promote equality, diversity, and inclusion?
The big question. Well, I think, a lot of what we've talked about is relevant so far. So I think, first of all, we need to kind of build up a picture of what actually it looks like in the sector. We need to kind of engage with those champions that we've talked about in other organizations and across the sector to share best practice, facilitate learning, whether that's through, workshops or podcasts like this or events, and to really reach out to those communities that don't have the same opportunities, and listen and learn about their needs and see how we can support them and what their wants are. Um, at Dynamo, we obviously felt strongly enough about this to bring in you into the role of looking at this for us, and to kind of plan how we can do that for the best. So, we're really pleased that it's our advisory board at Dynamo are really bought into this as well. And we're really hoping that it'll be same across the wider membership as well. But it's all about coming together as a sector, as a community, no matter which region you live in or network
Mm.
part of or organization that you work with, is something that's got to be given the importance to work together on.
Yeah, great. And I think that you have really mentioned about what the advisory board at Dynamo think, and how you're taking the approach. But it's not one person who can change it. It's not only Dynamo who can change
Mhm.
it. It should be the approach of every business that Dynamo, has the membership with and has the clients with. It's also the other business organizations, especially if you're looking to bring in the tech sector. It starts from even schools to
Mhm.
train people to, because how can Dynamo do anything if it is not being addressed at a very deep, at a root level? And obviously, this
Exactly.
is also a very deep root mindset that if there's a woman in control, she's bound to make a mess. And still, women are being, not though there's lots of movements, but there's still some
Mhm.
patriarchal thoughts somewhere. So, not everywhere and everyone has a big percentage of people still think that women are from ethnic minorities. They still think that they are only good at cooking, maybe dressing up. Tech is something far, far, far away from
Mhm.
what they are.
Yeah.
For example, that if a car that is poorly parked, it is automatically assumed that the woman must have done it. And I still come across men like who just judge us like on the basis of being as a woman. And here I'm talking about
Yeah.
every woman. Color doesn't actually matter. And that's plain discrimination right there. And it still exists. And we still live with this world. We still live with it. And we still are facing a lot of things to change the mindset, but also to understand why we are still living in a world which is considered to be a
Hmm.
very modern world, very digital world, very thriving economy that we say. And obviously, I would like to ask you, because you are also a woman, what do you think can be an antidote to this kind of thinking?
Well, that's a really tricky one. I mean, I don't know what the answer is. I do think things are changing slowly, slowly. I mean, not quick enough, as we know, because of the examples that you've just talked about, and people such as Donald Trump being in power and the kind of things that he comes out with. You know what I mean? So, all we can do is keep talking about it, keep pushing forward with these kind of initiatives, with initiatives like Tech Up Women. Just keep pushing that agenda and keep it at the forefront of people's minds, because we've got to get there. And as I've said before, it's got to be a united front. Yeah, I mean, I hope that answers the question. I
Yeah,
just
no, I think,
golden
yeah.
ticket.
And I really want to thank you because you've mentioned Tech Up Women, and obviously a very inclusive, diverse program specifically designed for women by a woman who
Mhm.
has not only faced a lot in her life, but also has made a tremendous amount of record change in the evolution, in the technology industry. I must say, she's a technology evangelist, Dr. Sue Black, and she is an
Mhm.
inspiration to all of us. And because I was a part of Tech Up Women, I must say that that was a very diverse course, though
Uh-huh.
I do feel that there was less representation from Northeast, especially from Northumberland, if I look at the rural areas. And if we go
Mhm.
up to Berwick, there was less representation. But yes, it was a start, and the success of it, and because they've just recently won the Dynamites Award as well for the
Mhm.
diversity
Yeah.
and inclusion, that clearly shows how Dynamo is actually making a change by recognizing the efforts of those people who are trying to change this kind of thinking. And this is an antidote, in my opinion. This is an antidote. There's no
Mhm.
rocket science. But yes, we are all developing antidotes in our own little spaces. Thank you so much, Emma, for shedding so much light, expressing your views about it. What would be you giving food for thought for our listeners, to our viewers today? What in your opinion can be the food of thought?
I think just to kind of go back to your organizations and just take a look around you. Take a look around you and see what's happening in your organization in terms of diversity. Is it diverse? Do you need to start doing something about it? And if you do, then take action, start listening, start educating yourself, and start getting involved with an initiative like this. Come and join us at Dynamo and on this crusade that we've got, if you like, to try and do something about it. That's what we've recognized with our own organization, and the organizations that we represent. It's not good enough. We want to start doing something, and we would love people to come along with us.
Yes, that's great. And on that note, I would still like to tell all our viewers, all our listeners, that Dynamo has actually taken a very unique approach again. They are embracing equality, diversity, inclusion by doing, these podcast series, by blogs, and by working around it. We're also going to do a research, and we are looking at dignifying the people who are different but who are very important for our communities, who make our communities, who make us inclusive. And that's why I would like to take inspiration from them and move on as well. I would like to say thank you, Emma, for taking your very
No, thank
valuable
you.
time, joining us with this first podcast episode and the video episode for EDI. Thank you so much. And in the end, I would like to say thank you again, for coming up. So thank you, and thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thanks, Fareeha.
Thank you so much, Emma. And Emma, I think you've all seen, she has shed a lot of light, and what I could feel, she was really speaking from her heart that how much from Dynamo, from her role at Dynamo. And as a human, she would like to see Northeast tech sector being diverse, being equal, being inclusive, because inclusion is the last part that we really have to do it. Just by not, talking about equality, diversity, we would not be able to include everybody, whereas we have to do it from ourselves. Take a chance, start it from you, and it would happen. If you would like to get involved or share your thoughts, or would like to be a part of our podcast series or video series, please do get in touch by leaving us a message via our website. That's the Dynamo Northeast website, and you will see it in the end, our social media channels as well. I would meet you again with a wonderful guest next month in our next series with something topic. If you also think that we should be discussing something that we are missing out, please leave us your suggestions and we would try and work it out. So thank you everyone. And as Emma has said, the food for thought is go back into your organization and see whether we are diverse, whether we are promoting equality, or whether we do have an inclusive environment. So thank you very much and have a great week.